All right, joining us on today's podcast is Arline Leon Guerrero. Arline is a senior student academic counselor in the Student Counseling and Advising Services Unit at the University of Guam. She received her BA in Behavioral Science from Laredo Heights College and her MA in Education and Guidance and Counseling from the University of Guam and a graduate certificate in Academic Advising from Kansas State University. She has many years of experience in academic and career advisement, working with diverse student populations. She is the first-year seminar coordinator and lead advisor. Arline collaborates with faculty in the areas of first-year student retention, student success, career development, and well-being. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me, Matt.
I'm excited for you to be here. And let's go ahead and we'll dive right into the questions. I know we both know each other. You're part of NACADA Region 9. You're very involved in that. You work at University of Guam. So can you take us back and kind of tell us your path, your journey into higher education and academic advising?
Yeah, so it actually started when I took a psychology course in high school. Sorry, going way back. And I was really interested in just the whole aspect of psychology. So moving on to attending college, I really wanted to pursue, that field. So the college that I went to, Laredo Heights College, offered behavioral science, and so that incorporated, sociology, psychology, and other related fields. So I thought that would be a good way to go. And then from there, after I graduated with my BA, I decided to work a little bit. And so I did some social work. I moved back to Guam and did some social work, and then decided, well, I really want to get my master's. And so I thought working in the schools, the public school system, would be a good way to do that because it also allowed me time to do that. So, with the school getting out at a certain time, it allowed me to do evening classes. And so that's where that led me to pursue the master's in education with specialization in guidance and counseling. And then from there was when I ended up getting employed with the Guam public school system as a guidance counselor. So I was doing that for quite a while. And then there was opportunity for me to move to higher ed, and it started off with the Guam Community College. So I worked with the TRIO programs as a counselor. So that was a really good experience. And so I did that for quite a while. And then from there, another opportunity opened up here at the university. So I decided to pursue that and ended up here, which was, I felt like, moving from, the Guam public school system into higher ed, landing me here at the university. I feel like, wow, I've kind of made it. It's like my stepping stones to where I wanted to be. So that's kind of where it started off. In advising, I really enjoy, working with students, talking to students, getting, to know them as individuals, hearing about their personal, narratives. I think it's really important as advisors to do that. And I know it's hard with busy schedules that we have, but we really have to make the time to, get to know, our advisees. So I think that's real important. So that's kind of, what led me into advising.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you when you're saying about we still have to make sure that we're engaging with our students in a sense that even though we're busy, like the student coming into our office or on Zoom, they don't know what our schedule's like, but they have that meeting scheduled or that drop in to get their questions answered. And and we kind of have to be like the people person and make sure that they are getting our attention, that we're 100% focused on them. but it can be very tough sometimes, especially with like peak advising season, which a lot of times seems to be like all year.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you were doing working in the public school system, was that like middle school, high school?
I did every level.
Okay.
I did middle school. Middle school was the longest length of time as a guidance counselor, and then my last couple of years were at the high school. So I did every level. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So like basically students growing up, you've had an impact on them at both middle, high school, community college, university. Um, how was the transition like going from being a guidance counselor in the public schools and then transitioning to the community college and then to the university? How was that like?
Um, well, it wasn't that difficult because when I started at the community college, the TRIO programs, we were still working with high school students. So that kind of made it an easier transition. But the working with the college students, that was really different. It's a whole different ball game. Yeah, when you move into higher ed, everything is just done differently, and the students are also different, more mature, I say maybe. Yeah.
So I do want to ask you about your advising structure at University of Guam. How does that work? Like, is it a centralized or decentralized model? Is it, do you have professional advisors and mixed in with faculty? How does that all work?
Yeah. So I say we're decentralized. So undeclared students will get advised in our area under enrollment management through the Triton Advising Center, and then declared students will work with their professional advisors. And once they have completed a certain number of credits, then they would move into advisement with faculty advisors. Yeah, so that's kind of what's set up.
Yeah, nice. And so I do want to transition over to talking about the first year seminar. So that's something that you oversee. You talked about it a little bit already. So can you talk a little bit more about what the first year seminar course, how it's structured, how that all works?
Yeah, so it is a requirement for all new incoming students with 0 to 30 credits. It is required for graduation. It's not part of the general education framework, but it is required. And so we use our curriculum is based off of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective College Students. In addition to that, we have incorporated a local memoir, which focuses on resiliency and resiliency of the Chamorro people during World War II. So, in essence, one of the main themes of first year seminar is resiliency. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And with that, you're working collaboratively a lot with the faculty. And are these, because I know sometimes with first year seminar, it might be other advisors that also will teach some of the sections. Is that similar to University of Guam, or is it different faculty or lecturers that teach?
It's actually just one course. And so we've actually started incorporating also, because we have a Title III grant. And so with that, we have included financial solvency and career development into the first year seminar. So we do have staff from these different offices to come in and to talk about their programs. And then any other support program that wants to come in, or maybe faculty who want to talk about their programs, they're welcome to come in as well. Yeah.
And tied to this is there's a chapter in a book that connects with this. And so there is a chapter in the book, Optimizing Higher Education Learning Through Activities and Assessment. And the chapter titles are Regionalism, Assessing Students' Academic Resilience Through Reading and Response Activities. Can you talk more about how that all came about?
Yeah, so two faculty members had wanted to collaborate with myself to do some research on Chamorro students within FY, or who identified as Chamorro in the FY 101 course. And we took a look at their work, specifically a resiliency essay that is required for all students. And yeah, we just evaluated their responses um, or based on the rubric. And so and then we talked more about, how resilient they, they are based on what they've learned through that specific local memoir that we used in the course.
Nice. And then you said it was the FI 101?
FY
And
101.
okay, okay, and so that's your first year seminar,
First,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, first year
nice. Now,
seminar.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I guess even talking more about the first year seminar, like you're incorporating a lot of that career development piece as well as like the well-being piece. Um, how important do you feel that, first year students really need to kind of start thinking about the career piece and also thinking about themselves, whether it's well-being or whatnot?
Yeah, with the career development, it's real important. Now is the time for them to, start thinking about maybe doing internships, volunteering. We know that employers, when they look at resumes, they like to see students who have volunteered, meaning they're not just doing, work for pay, but that they're willing to go beyond that. And that, speaks of leadership. So yeah, it's real important to start early, and that's what we're doing here through that Title III grant I was speaking about earlier. So actually, we've just had the presentations that have been started on career development, and so we also have it's called the Triton Career Connect. So students can create their accounts and then have access to different job opportunities, different career assessments. So they have a lot of resources through that Triton Career Connections webpage.
I'm just trying to think back when I was a student, when I first started, it was like, well, I'll get to that later. I got to focus on my classes and try to get the best grades possible. And then all of a sudden it's senior year and I'm thinking, I have never gone to the career center. What was I thinking?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're promoting, is to, encourage students to go to the career development office. They are so willing to help students. There's a small staff, but they are just willing to help. And it's not just, it's throughout their different their college career. So you start out freshman year, then you move on to your sophomore year. And so the career development office does have a portfolio where they've got a checklist of things that freshman students should have done or should be doing, and then proceed on to their sophomore year, same thing. So that by the time they're seniors, they've got their portfolio all set up, looks real nice, will look nice on a resume. Yeah, and then hopefully secure a job.
Yeah. And I know some institutions, like mine included, the career center and career counselors are separate from, let's say, like the academic advising aspect of it. You have some institutions where maybe they're all within the same department or office, and maybe even some institutions where it might be a dual role of being a career advisor and counselor as well as an academic advisor or counselor. But let's say you have departments where you have like your academic advisors, and then you also have, let's say, a different department is your career counselors or career advisors. What's your advice with having departments that are separate like that be able to collaborate more or have more like streamless passing on from, there's one student to getting to talking to a career counselor or advisor?
Yeah, I think it's real important for, both the, advising and career, advisors to work together, to collaborate. It's real important because it's as if you can't have one without the other. And even in our first year seminar, when we start doing academic planning, we have to talk about, okay, careers, right? Especially for those who maybe are undeclared, haven't really decided yet. There's got to be that conversation. So yeah, there's definitely a connection, and so there really needs to be collaboration between both.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. And one of the things that you've pursued is the graduate certificate in academic advising. How did you find out about that, and how was it getting through that certificate program?
I actually found out about it just on the Nakata website. I'm always searching and looking for best practices, articles, anything that could help us with advising. And so I came across that, and I'm always wanting to elevate my my strengths, and just the whole thing aspect of advising. And so I thought that would be a great opportunity, um, because it's all online. That was helpful. I mean, there was my experience with asynchronous courses. So yeah, so it helped, when we started to go online with teaching because of the pandemic. So I'm glad I had that experience. And then just the courses themselves, and collaborating with other advisors from different universities was a great experience too. So yeah, I'm so happy that I did it.
Yeah, and if anything, there's always I think they have the PhD now in academic advising. So there's always more to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that one too.
It's like we get told all the time, like the education never stops.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. And then there's always all those tutorials that we have access to, right, as members.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, all those e-tutorials. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again,
Yeah.
there's always something, it looks like. And speaking of Nakata, you also are involved in Nakata, and also within Region 9. Can you talk about your involvement within the organization?
Yeah, so I am the awards and membership coordinator, and so my role is to get members to submit nominations for the different awards and scholarships that are available. And then once those are done, I coordinate the evaluations with the readers. And once that's completed, then I submit the results or the winners to executive office. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a fun thing to coordinate, because you also, once you get to notify the winners, and and I'm sure they get all excited that they won. But then a lot of the awards too, there's also not only the benefit, they get a certificate, but they also sometimes get registration covered, or they get some sort of stipend type of deal, which I think is great, because it's also promoting, hey, attend conferences and get that networking and that professional development. So it's probably nice to see that as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's nice to see what other advisors are doing at their campuses. Through these nominations. So, and a lot of them are really great.
Yeah, and I hope anyone listening thinks too that, hey, maybe they can submit a nomination for someone that they know, or also a lot of times they can self-nominate too, correct?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. And I guess, sometimes too, I like asking people about, what got you to kind of put your name in the hat to run for that position.
So, when I first heard of Nakata, because I was just told, okay, you need to go to a conference, so find a conference. So Nakata, that was, what I was hearing. I said, okay, not realizing that they were broken into regions. And so I was attending quite a different region conferences, not realizing that, hey, there's Region 9, until I attended the Region 9 conference in Hawaii, not this last one, but many years ago. And I sat near someone during, I think it was one of uh, the keynote sessions. And so the advisor sitting next to me, she was from San Francisco State, I believe. And so she asked me where I was from. And I said, well, I'm from Guam, and I work at the University of Guam. She goes, oh, you guys need to be part of this region. I said, you're right. So that's kind of where it started, where I realized, oh my goodness, here's Region 9. This is where we belong. Although we weren't really officially recognized, the territories, until a couple of years ago. I'm happy about that. I know that we sort of put a plug in Charlie Nutt's ear at one conference we were at, and so I'm so glad that it happened. So it's nice to be a part of, yeah, officially a part of the
Yeah.
region.
And
Yeah,
sometimes it's that randomness. You just happen to be sitting next to someone, they happen to make a comment, and then got you thinking. And then if you find Charlie Nutt when he was executive director and talk to him, sometimes he'll be giving you volunteering you to do things, but then also he'll is very much open to hearing suggestions and your comments and all. And it's kind of like it all started at one place, and look at where it is now. And
yeah,
Guam wasn't officially recognized and now is. And I'm glad it's part of Region 9. So yeah, it's everyone will find their part in Nakata. And if some people who've been members for a few years, if it's something where they haven't had that moment yet, they will at some point. You just really just got to be out there, being at a session, and just kind of interact, and opportunities come about.
yeah. And as far as running, for this particular position on the steering committee, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Nobody knows me, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there, and even if I don't get it, at least I'm putting, my name, and that Guam exists. And yeah, so that was my reason for that. I'm really happy that I'm able to participate uh, along with the rest of you. So
Yeah, and again, just like you're saying, just said, you know what? Let me just do it. Let me see
yeah,
what happens. And funny thing is, sometimes with some of these positions, it might only just be the one person that runs for that, or it might just be like one or two or three. So it's like, hey, you have a good chance of probably winning. And
yeah,
I always tell the story to people where, hey, if you don't get it the first time, do it again the next time, or you might find another position that's even more interesting. I know for me, like a few years ago, I applied for Region 9 for the social media and communication coordinator, and I didn't get that one. It actually went to Winnie Tang. And
uh,
I mean, and I thought everything's meant to be. And she did
yeah,
so fantastic with it. And I was like, I probably was never going to do any of this if I got that position. And it was good because it helped me to grow and be able to develop more, not getting that position. But yeah,
yeah,
things happen the way they're supposed to.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I want to go back to another publication that you are part of. And I think this was an article. This one was titled Indigenous Student Experience in Higher Education, Implementation of Culturally Sensitive Support. And in this one, in your research that was done, can you talk more about this article and, what you've seen, I guess, in the research, what you've seen institutions doing to serve Indigenous students?
Yeah, so my dean, Dr. Camacho, and I collaborated on this chapter. We did, research what other universities, what the movement is now in supporting Indigenous students, at the universities. We looked at different, student success initiatives to help Indigenous students, and a lot of universities are already doing it. Here at our university, we've got like Trio, that's one of them. We have, just a variety of support services that, help Indigenous students.
Yeah. And I like that, I think a lot of the themes here for this interview have been those collaborations and being able to kind of work with others and get to create these chapters and put this research out there, which is always something we hear at conferences too, like you need to write. I guess what's your advice with that? I mean, you've had your experience with writing and publications. For those that are like, I'm interested, but I don't even know where I'm supposed to start, I mean, what would you say to them?
I would say, maybe find someone who you feel comfortable with, that you could do collaborative work together, and maybe have the same ideas, and then just sit down, talk about a topic, right, that you would like to do research on and write about. So that's kind of how it worked for me. And the other person could be well versed in writing, and so I just kind of learn from the other person. So that's kind of how it's how it's worked for me. So.
Yeah, and then of course I know like some of the annual conferences like I'd all have their like scholarly paper sessions that you can learn
Mhm.
more about things like that, or I think they even do like their Saturday writing days. So there's definitely opportunities as well with that. And as we
Yeah.
wind down with this interview, we talked about how a lot of hats that you wear and like kind of how busy it is being in academic advising, but still, a wonderful job and career. What are your
Mhm.
hobbies and interests outside of work, outside of higher ed, if you have time for even that?
I really just like to relax at home, maybe go, to the beach every once in a while. Just relaxing things, maybe read a book that's maybe not related to just, yeah, not related to, um, my work, but just, yeah. That's basically it. Just like to relax.
Hey, that's a perfect way to put it, and
Yeah,
even reading a book that's not related to what you do. We have plenty of those articles and books to read
yeah,
during work, or part of conferences. So, yeah, to have something that's not related to that is a great way to relax. And if
yeah.
listeners have any questions or want to connect, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So I can be reached via email. That's Arline, ARLINELG at triton.uog.edu, or via phone, 671
Awesome. Well, I've enjoyed this time together for this podcast. Arlene, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Matt.